Hey everyone, welcome to SLP's Wine and Cheese. I'm Deb.
And I'm Maria.
And here's our podcast.
For the Realistic SLP. Welcome!
Oh, look, we did that together.
We're awesome.
So we want to start off by saying thank you to all of our listeners. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for telling your friends. And thank you so much for writing to us. We love it. Keep it coming.
And thank you for helping us reach 2,000 downloads.
Oh, yes. So we've been running now for almost a month. Today's June 5th. Our first day was May 7th.
Oh, okay.
So almost a month and we hit 2,038 downloads.
Cheers.
Cheers to that.
That's right.
So, thank you to everyone who listened and who told their friends and who reviewed and who shared. We sincerely appreciate it, and we also love hearing your feedback.
Yes, especially the feedback. Also, a special thank you to Pre-Care SLP.
Oh, yeah.
It's a private practice. They got us some funky, what are these things called? I forgot.
Noise-reducing
Noise-reducing stuff, yes.
So that we're not so echoey?
Yes.
Somebody said we sound like chipmunks.
Oh, but I thought that was the goal.
Yes, yeah, because we are chipmunks. That is true. But so we're making adjustments in terms of sound, and now we have this really cool sound foam.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're less echoey, but write us in, let us know what you think.
Yeah. So, and that's all because of Pre-Care. Thank you. And what they are, who they are, they're a private practice, and they offer speech and language therapy to all different populations, adults, kids, teens, everyone in between. And on Staten Island, unintentionally too.
You're just so linguistically
I
inclined.
am just so alliteration-y. So yeah, they have populations, all different populations and locations in Staten Island and in Coney Island, and their website is www.slpmd.com. So check them out.
All right, sounds good. So we're drinking, we're eating.
Right.
What's happening, Maria?
Yes. All right. So I brought this wine, and oh my gosh, is it strong?
Is it really?
Yeah.
Like, it is.
You don't feel like a kick in your mouth when you eat it.
Well, Mike
drink
made
it.
me a whole. You're always saying.
I'm always messing up if we're eating or drinking because we're doing both. So
we are.
They're interchangeable
Mike made
at this
me a
point.
Whole steak dinner before you got here.
Wow.
So I am gonna be sober tonight.
Okay.
But you did bring, you're going to talk about it. It's got extra alcohol in it. So.
Yeah, this is a California Merlot from Frey Brothers Vineyards. Mm-hmm. It's by, the company is Redwood Creek. Maybe you've seen them in your local liquor store. It says vintage. It says vintage on it. 2008. So you think, oh, it says vintage, I'm going to like it. No, I don't really like this too much.
So you say sink it?
I'm going to have to say sink it. It's too strong of a taste. It does have like a cherry kind of fruity taste, and that's why I'm feeling this white cheddar cheese that we're eating.
Oh, yes, it does.
Because it helps soak it up with this intense alcohol. I'm still sipping it though.
I say drink it. I like it.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it tastes good.
I mean, it's less than $10, and it's a pretty large bottle, so you can't really go wrong.
Yes,
I feel like this is good if you're gonna go to a party and you're not gonna drink that night. You're like, here, I got you this wine. I'm not drinking tonight.
Right.
I don't want to have a headache in the morning or something, and just let other people drink it.
Right. That's
Does
a
that
good
mean?
idea.
I'm sorry.
I mean,
that's a good tip. That's
I'm
a good tip and trick.
I'm thankful to anyone who just hands me a glass, which can be very dangerous, but so far so good. I'm doing okay.
Be careful, man. Be observant.
Yes, that's true. Speaking of, well, let's observe how we're feeling. Let's check in. So, how is your day and your week going, Maria?
I would say it's going pretty well.
Good.
I'm looking forward to celebrating my birthday kind of early, but this weekend, I'm going to go out this weekend. So it's my birthday weekend.
I wish that I could come.
I know, but it's okay. I know you still love me.
I sure do.
Yes, I feel it.
Do you want to share what you're doing, or you don't want to
okay. Friday, I'm going to go out on Staten Island with coworkers or whoever wants to come. And then Saturday, I'm going to go out with just the girls.
Okay.
To town downtown.
Sweet.
I decided we're going to just go to town downtown.
Just go for it.
And just live in the moment, and whatever. I'm turning 30, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. Like you said,
you can't. It's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah.
So I'm soaking
Time
it up.
keeps on going.
Yeah.
These big wheels keep on turning.
Burning. What is it? Burning on a river. Anyway, also I saw the movie Upgrade yesterday. Have you heard of it?
I have not.
Yeah, I didn't hear of it either until yesterday.
Did you see it in one of those theaters that shows the movies that are not on TV?
No, you're like the second person to ask me that, and I'm like, no, it really is like. It's like in Regal Cinemas. Yes, that's where I went. It's not that exact one, but yeah. And it's about this guy, and he gets like paralyzed, and he has this like artificial thing put in him, and he makes him like kind of like a bionic man. But there's way more to the story than that. I'm not going to have a spoiler alert.
So do you recommend it?
I do.
How many tomatoes do?
What like at a percentage?
Yeah,
like a 90.
Oh,
yeah,
boy, that's
I know.
high.
I know.
They don't dish out those tomatoes.
I
for
know
nothing.
they don't, and that they're like good to go by Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah,
right. Like
they'll even be like, this movie sucks, but you have to see it.
Right. Yeah, I would say that it was good. So I would see it if I were you.
That's good.
What about you?
So I am just, running around like a crazy person.
As always.
But usually I'm like a manageable crazy person, and I'm at a point where I am like, shut the front door. There is
to who? To yourself
too much
or to
going
others?
on. Mostly others.
Interesting. I thought you meant to yourself.
Within myself.
Oh,
I'm always
okay.
like, but lately I feel like you are too much for me.
Do you mean me?
No.
Okay. I'm just checking.
No. It's just like mostly. Sorry, I had to pull the microphone away for a second.
Right. Because this wine is intense.
But no, it's just like the intensity of work. It's the end of the school year. The amount of work that I have to do. The session notes, the progress reports. It's hard for me to keep track of everything. And then I missed a couple days, so people want to do makeups that just like the time is going, and there aren't enough opportunities to make up these missed sessions before the school year ends.
Right.
And you know what? I have to surrender to that which is outside of my control.
True.
You can do anything, but you can't do everything.
And you can't make time,
You can't.
appear in school day.
True. But I do think time is elastic.
Interesting.
Because you could say to yourself, oh, I have 3 things to do in an hour. I don't have enough time to get it done and get somewhere on time. But you can stretch the time to get it all done.
Right, or you could do like each thing like half-assed, or just do half of it and then go back later.
Exactly. So
that's why I'm always late. Because I'm trying to do 100 things in once.
That's right. I'm always late because I accomplish so much that I don't have time to be early because my time is too valuable. So I can't just be waiting in a coffee shop for you to arrive.
That's true, but then the other person gets mad, and then they're like, you don't take my time. And it's like, no, but I'm sorry, but I'm not. No.
Yeah. Luckily, though, I feel like I tend to meet up with people who are just as busy as me, so we're just both like, if I got there sooner, I'm just like, it's margarita time, I'm starting without you.
Right, there you go.
So,
Same thing.
But I feel okay. I did feel very stressed, and then I took my dog for a walk, which is like the best thing about having dogs is that you have to go out, you have to walk around and think. And thinking about our topic today, which is autism.
Yes.
And how it's like you said in the earlier episode, it's like an individual who has autism, they're like kind of closed within themselves a bit.
Right.
So as I was walking, like, stick with me on this.
I'm there.
I like to like walk and sing and think, and I'm always singing something in my head, and I was singing Grease.
Which song? Go Grease Lightning? That one?
No.
Okay.
You're the one that I want.
Oh, okay.
When she's like, meditate my direction.
Right.
And I'm like, meditate is like a word that's just been just thrown around a lot.
Yes.
And so I was like, oh, does meditate mean like to come closer? And then like if you meditate, you come closer to yourself?
Yes.
Right?
I think the answer to that question is yes.
I think so, because that's what Sandy was saying. She was like, meditate my direction, come this way.
Right.
And if you're meditating alone, you must be coming closer to yourself.
Yeah, your true self, where you, because I meditate, and like the whole philosophy behind it is you're quieting your like busy monkey mind, and you're trying to just focus on like sensations or just clearing your head, or even if you do have thoughts that come up, you just acknowledge like these are thoughts and they don't define me, and they come up and they go away like a cloud. So if you're nervous about something, let's say work, and like it comes up in your head, like you just say like, all right, you know, like just watch that thought pass, like just let it float by, don't let it like consume you,
like let it go.
Yeah, like let it go and realize that thoughts are not things. Your thoughts are just your thoughts. Like don't let them define you.
Okay.
So it takes time to like meditate, and I'm not saying I'm like a meditation expert, but when I first started meditating, I'm like, I keep like drifting off, or I keep falling asleep, but you have to just like keep trying it, and it gets better and better, like a skill. You know, you get better and better at it.
I like to actively meditate.
Yeah, that's a big thing too.
Yeah, so it's like for me, meditating is like cleaning,
right,
and organizing.
Yeah.
Or like creating something. Drawing is meditating.
Yeah.
You know, or coloring, or mostly like if I'm cleaning and I have music really loud, I mean all that's happening is I'm going through the motions and I'm singing that song. So I'm not like, what will I do next, or does everyone hate me?
Right, so you're living in the moment too.
Yeah,
and
because I just thought of a
too.
Quote. Yeah, you just reminded me when you said that. It's Zen spirituality. I can't even say that word.
Spirituality.
That is not thinking about God while peeling the potatoes. Zen spirituality is just peeling the potatoes.
Okay. So you're
I'm just
focusing
peeling
on
the
that.
Potatoes.
Interesting.
I'm just folding the clothes. I'm just cleaning the floor.
Because when I like meditate and like journal, and it always makes me think, and it's like the quote, I think you brought it up, like the past has already happened and you don't know what's going to happen in the future. So in the moment, this is like in the present, that's what's real. That's what's happening. Not your thoughts about what's going to happen next week or what happened already. Like that's done. So like whatever's in the moment, that's what's reality. Yeah. That's what's real.
I live in the present.
I think I try my best to. I mean, I'm not perfect. No one's perfect, you know?
Exactly. But kids will be like, Miss Brooks, are you coming to get me next? And I'm like, I only know who's now. I don't know. You have to wait until I look at that list again.
Like, it's a surprise.
It is. It's a surprise for me every time. I'm like, oh, look whose turn it is.
Right.
I never know, and neither should you.
Exactly.
We are all we're living on the edge.
That's exactly right.
So yeah, autism, and thanks to we're gonna break this down into multiple episodes. So today we're gonna talk about early intervention, like 0 to 3 autism, and we're gonna try to break it down even further to what you see, what you do, and what you write.
What type of goals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, to start off with, autism, it's a disorder of relating and communicating. And characteristics present on a spectrum that vary in both type and severity.
Correct.
So that's just the most specific definition I've ever heard.
Yes, never heard of that one before.
No. But so basically you can have 12 autistic kids that are all 12 different people the way they present.
Exactly.
And they are going to be that way. The primary characteristics, though, of autism are problems with social communication, restrictive, repetitive movements or patterns, and also language impairment.
Yep. So the social communication portion could include anything from, because if we're going to specifically focus on the little ones, that counts as like poor eye contact, they're not waving or using gestures. Those all are their problems with social communication.
Yeah, and they have decreased engagement or interaction. They might like their own space in their own time, and they don't really engage in cooperative play or joint attention. They're not paying attention to the same thing as somebody else is at the same time. Right. Unless it's a screen. You could both pay attention to YouTube at the same time. Also, these kids usually because of the deficits in social communication and language impairment, they're going to demonstrate with some sort of frustration because they're not able to advocate for themselves or request or describe their needs or desires. And that's where we come in because they may not naturally acquire language.
Right. So I'm thinking now, let's say, depending on like how, I guess this is very individual per state, but we're in New York, so we have early intervention. So we, as speech language pathologists, go into the child's home, or you could work in like an outpatient and they come to you. So a lot of the times they already have the label of autism. But I have had some kids that I'm like, oh no, am I the first one who met them? Right. And I'm like, am I the first, SLP they've seen? And the mom's like, yep, you're the first one. And I'm like, seeing all these signs, and I'm like, no, how do I go about this?
So you mentioned
talk about that.
But I wanted to go back to that. We have listeners in Greece, in Australia, France, Mexico. Shout out to all you guys, international.
We'd love to hear from you guys.
Yeah, thanks for listening. But so that's what I wanted to ask you, because many times I've worked with several different individuals on the spectrum who present in a variety of ways. But I never know until I see them, unless they have like a significant mandate where I'm like, oh, this person must have something in addition to just language to because they're mandated for services 5 times a week for an hour.
Right. Whoa.
But usually that's like multiple disabilities. So that would be my only indication until I speak to a parent. And if so, like, let's say I want to get clues about a child because all I'm given really is a name and a number and an address and availability. So I'm going to call them up and I'm going to say, hi, I'm Deborah. I'm the speech therapist. I work for City Sounds of New York. I'm going to be providing services for your family. And I just wanted to ask you a couple questions so I know what to bring with me when I come to see your kid.
I like that opening.
So I'll be like, what is he interested in?
Right.
And if they tell me, or she, if they tell me, like, trains in the iPad.
I was just going to say, Thomas.
Well, I mean, everyone likes that guy. I hate him, but everyone likes him.
He's so overrated, but whatever.
Yeah.
I guess I don't get it. I'm not a kid.
And it's not good to make a gross overgeneralization. Just because a kid likes YouTube and Thomas doesn't mean that they're on the spectrum.
Right.
But it is likely that if they're on the spectrum, they're going to like YouTube and Thomas.
Interesting.
These are not...
Do you know why they like Thomas?
I think because it's linear.
Oh, well, my fellow SLP told me that because the background moves, but the face doesn't. So they're like, it's easy for them to like stem off of it.
Ah.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, right?
Yeah. Makes sense.
So that's why they like Thomas. But all right, let's go into signs and symptoms. So one of them is not Thomas. Okay, do not take this as
because like everyone likes Thomas. Everyone likes Thomas.
A sign or symptom,
except for us. We don't like Thomas. But in general, so like I'm just saying that if a parent can't really expand beyond that in terms of interest, if they're not like, oh, he loves to tell you stories, or he likes his bear, or he like. I don't even know what else I can go.
Playing with his brother.
Yeah. If they're like, oh, he likes jumping on the couch.
Right.
So then I'm like, oh, he likes that sensory input there. So maybe there's some sort of sensory involvement. So that's the first question I'll ask. Like, what should I bring with me? And then I'll ask, like, so how does he mostly communicate with you? Does he use sounds or mostly gestures? So I kind of present it in a way so that when they respond, they're like, oh, he actually doesn't speak in sentences.
Right.
He usually signals to me. I present that as like an initial option so that they don't think like what they're saying is off the charts or different.
Oh, right. Okay.
So this is like the interaction I'm just having for the first time on the phone with this person.
Right.
So I'll get an idea there. But then one time I had a parent that was like, you know what? So-and-so is a better person to talk to about this. So when you come here, like that person will just answer all your questions. So I'm like, okay.
Who was the other person?
It was like another family member.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like grandma or
so
something.
I had no idea. So I had no idea going in.
I work in a private practice, so a lot of times I don't have that much information of them coming in. So they come into me and I'm just like, hey, what's going on? You know, like, why are you here? And then I kind of let them do all the talking, and I'm the active listener, And then I have a questionnaire, and one of my favorite questions on there is, how does he or she, how does your child do with other kids? And if I see like, mostly, keeps to themselves, that I feel like for me is a red flag. Another question on my questionnaire is, do they get easily frustrated? Okay. And that's another big one. Like, if they can't get their point across, they just like give up and start crying. I feel like that's another red flag. Exactly. So, obviously. So that's what we'd be seeing if we were entering the room with a new client who is potentially on the spectrum. Yeah. So the activities that we would like to start working on with them is, so the first thing that I'm going to do with them is I'm going to try to sit down on the floor with them. That's a good one. Or try to sit at the table with them. I always try the table and then the floor, because I don't want to set up like, oh, okay, I don't expect you to sit, because I do expect them to sit. Yes. So I like the table first as well. Me too. Or like even if it's a small table, but I do prefer like the kitchen table. Oh, okay. Oh, like if it's in the home. Okay. Oh, yeah. I feel like the most of the kids I see on the spectrum are in the home. I have a mixture, but some at home and some they come to me. Okay. But I've had in the home, we did. The mom would have like the little table and chairs, right? Like, or if they don't have them yet, I'll say like, "Hey, you want to invest in this?" Yeah, so they can have a workspace. But so I'm initially, so if I can get them to sit, then the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start breaking out some things that I have to get them to interact with me. Right. So from that, I would either have shaving cream, nice, or I have a toolboxes filled with all different brushes. Oh, what kind of brushes? Like cleaning brushes, hair brushes, paint brushes, makeup brushes. Wow. Like really bristly brushes. I feel like I would like that. Yeah, I like it too. I feel like if I like it, everyone likes it. So that's what I do. It's very egocentric of you, but sure. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, I agree. Yeah. That's fine. But also though, like if I'm in charge and I demonstrate interest, then I'm mirroring the interest that I want somebody else to demonstrate towards me. Right. So if I think something's cool, someone next to me is going to think it's cool. Yes. But if I'm like bored, or if I'm like, oh, card, then they're not going to be into it either. Exactly. Yeah, I probably would be a very good saleswoman. Right. I'd be like, this is the best. Look at these brushes. Exactly. You get one, you get 10 free. You can brush your hair, you can brush your arms, you can brush your belly. Brush. You have lint in your belly button? We got a brush for that. Just brush it all away. We'll have a slogan. We'll have neon brushes. We'll have like fidget spinning brushes. Oh, wow. Yeah. Those are dying out. Well, I hope. I'm sick of every kid being like, Miss Brooks, guess what I have in my pocket? I'm like, a fidget spinner. They're like, how'd you know? Yeah, lucky guess. So after like I get their attention with these sensory objects, such as like shaving cream or the brush box, then I'm going to try to do some other sensory things like the Z Vibe. Yes. Which we were talking about. Yes. I recommend someone from Z Vibe should just reach out to us. Yes, reach out. We recommend it to the parents. Yeah. I remember I walked into one house and the girl was just mouthing everything. Right. And I asked the mom, like, hi, have you heard of a Z Vibe? And she looked at me like I had 10 heads. And I'm like, just Google it. Yeah. Because it just doesn't sound right right away. Like, get your kid a vibrator. For your face. Yeah. But I love the Z Vibe, even if, like, I'm not quite sure if it's doing anything. It's just, like, how we're doing the podcast. The podcast starts when we hit the red button. Speech therapy starts when we start doing the facial massage. So it's just, like, it's like a commencement of activities. And also it's increasing sensory input in order to trigger a motor response, but also to put some input there so that they could have sensation and they're able to perceive the different portions of their oral cavity, prepping them for speech sound production. Yeah, or for feeding, because I mean, a lot of our children, I guess, especially on the autism spectrum, will have probably aversions to certain textures, so getting their tolerance. I love to ask, does your child eat a variety of textures and consistencies? Yeah. So what questions do we like so far? How do they do with other children? How do they interact with other children? What are they? Yeah, how do they communicate with you? What are they interested in? What are they interested in? What frustrates them? Or how
How quick are they to become frustrated?
Yeah, something like that.
How can they manage their frustration, or do they frequently present with frustration? And then also, do they consume a variety of textures and consistency? Those are great questions to ask when you're first meeting this type of family. And the next thing that I wanted to talk about, so we said, I like to do some tactile play. So like hugs, spins, squeezes, tickles, and like anticipatory play. So I'm like, I'm gonna get you, and I wait for them to be like, no, and like kind of like smile and push my hands away, and I'm like, I'm coming, and then they're like, no.
Yeah,
you know?
or sometimes they like it, and then they take your hand, they pull your hand. So
yeah, I had a boy who used to always take my hands. He liked when I squeezed his head, like putting my hands on his ears. And
I have a boy like that exactly.
Yeah, so that made me think about like the vestibular system, and then also this child probably like struggles with a lot of sensory input, like especially auditory sensory stuff. So he probably likes how like the world gets shut off a bit. So then the next thing that we would work on, like an activity, what kind of activity would you do?
I like bubbles because they're easy to transport. Everyone has them, and they're such a great activity for carryover.
Right.
Like parents are like, what can I buy? What can I do? And I'm like, do you have bubbles? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, there you go.
Right.
You know, they all have it, and they can bring it to the park with them. So I like to blow some bubbles and then close the cap and just wait, and that's how I get them to. I mean, obviously they have to be interested in the bubbles, but like 9 times out of 10, the kids
everyone's interested in bubbles,
exactly.
pretty much.
And I like them too, just like you like your brushes. Yeah, I like how cute. It's like a hologram, like it's like.
I like Wizard of Oz. I'm like, it's Glinda. Yeah. That's a Glinda bubble.
So I wait for them to communicate, whether it's a point, a verbalization, or a PEX symbol, which I know we talked about PEX, and a lot of people were interested in that PEX topic. So
we have to. I think we should do a whole episode on PEX.
Whoa,
we should talk. I think that it has to get broken down. I think you do it so frequently that for you it's like way more naturalistic than it is for people who don't. It's not natural for me. You're like, oh, you just take an interest inventory, and then you make a picture, and then you have 3 people, and then you have one person hold up the picture, and the other person hold up the object.
That's all right. That's all step 1, though.
I told you I'm very good at remembering what I hear.
All right. So, I mean, there are 6 steps to PEX. That's the important part. And then one of my... So I'm just going to break it down quickly but as consistent as I can. So... I'm going to run out of...
No, we're going to pause that.
Okay.
In 3 minutes, we're going to do our housekeeping. Yes. So here we go.
So first is what you just said, how to communicate. What you're teaching them in the first step is just how to communicate. So you find what they like. Let's say it's Bubbles now, not Thomas. Wolver Thomas. Bubbles.
Right, Bubbles.
Where you need 3 people to do it. The child picks up the symbol, hands it, even if it is with a handover prompt. And you could take data. If today was all hand over hand, maybe in 2 weeks it's partial prompt. Maybe in 3 weeks it's only 3 times they needed a partial prompt. So you could obviously take data on that.
Okay.
And then the second step, once they're pros at just exchanging symbols, then you increase the distance. So I've done this where I would like go kind of across the room, and it's great to see the kid. They pick up the symbol, they get up, they walk across, and then they exchange it with you.
Because they're like, oh, I have to give her my information so that I can get this thing that
exactly.
I want.
And that's teaching them persistence and seeking you out.
Okay.
Because the mom or the dad or the teacher in the future is not going to always be right there for them to ask, so it's teaching them to go up.
What if he brought it to somebody else?
I think that would still count for sure.
He's still communicating.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, what if he only brought it to someone else because that person's closer to him?
I think that still counts. I would be like, he's smart. He is going the efficient route.
Right. Yeah. Path of least resistance.
Yeah. Exactly.
Good. Okay. So great.
Step 3 is when they start to discriminate, and that's a big thing I see. Different SLPs or other professionals kind of make a little bit of an error that you start with 1 or 2 symbols, and then you start to present with them with 2 or 3 or 4 symbols where they discriminate what they want. And then step 4 is when they have a sentence strip, I want. And then, but that you don't ask them, what do you want? Our favorite question. Step 5 is when you ask, what do you want? And then they respond to the question. So they don't start responding to that question until step 5. And then there's only one more step, which is commenting, which is I see I hear I feel
Okay.
So it's not just requesting at this point.
Right. So now you're asking and answering questions and providing comments now to propel a conversation.
Right.
Which is like the foundation of pragmatic language skills.
Right. And then if they're at this point, it's like they understand communication. They know how to go up to you. They know how to answer that question, what do you want? And then they're at commenting.
Got it.
So we're at
they
the
understand the
point.
Function of language.
Yes.
Yeah, so that makes so much sense now, the way that you said it. I think
good.
that I understand way better.
Yay.
So hopefully I get someone soon.
Oh.
So there's
Glenda is here for us. She heard us talking about bubbles. So
that's our halfway point.
That's our halfway point, and we're going to go over some housekeeping.
Exactly. And if you're driving, this might be a nice time to pause so that you can get to school and then check back in with us when you
or wherever you work.
Or the clinic, or if you're doing home care constantly. I'm gonna unclick all these pens that I have. All these pens, I clicked them open and I didn't close them.
She has an array of pens.
I do. I like pens. If I have to write all the time, I should be able to do it in a way that I feel pleasure.
I like that. I agree with that. Anyway, so we're now on iHeartRadio.
Oh, yeah,
Yay!
we are.
Check us out on iHeartRadio, SLP's Wine and Cheese.
The podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. And we're also, we're on iTunes. We're on a bunch of things that I signed us up for. We're not on Spotify yet because they're not taking anybody new right now.
Oh,
and I got to start pursuing Alexa more. The Amazon thing.
Oh, okay.
But so
stay
tuned. But right now we're on iHeartRadio and iTunes. That's the most popular things that we're on. And then also you can find us on our Instagrams. My Instagram is at Deborah, DEBORAH, Brooks, BROOKS, and then CCCSLP. That's where I post videos of myself doing speech therapy. And I also have another Instagram called Color in Speech, and that's where I post my products that I draw and sell on my website.
You inspired me. I started drawing a little bit too with my kids. I'm not as good as an artist as you. I'm not even trying to be.
But
it's
got that
good.
way with repeated practice.
Right.
Because I was never somebody who was like great at drawing, and now I feel way more confident.
Oh, okay.
I've been doing it. I've just did it over and over and kept going, and now I'm like, I really can draw like anything now.
Oh wow! I'm not that confident.
I never started off that way.
I was playing a game, and I was like, all right, let's write these words down. I was like, let me draw little pictures, and actually, the little girls drew a picture too, and I was like, all right, great.
Yeah.
She chimed in there.
Sometimes I don't even have to play any type of game because I'm drawing so much, and kids are so interested in just the motor planning of drawing that's enough of a positive reinforcement to get them to continue doing whatever activity.
Yeah.
So I don't have to waste time opening a game.
Right.
I don't have to
do all these
give them a
extra
sticker.
things.
They're just like, can you draw Sonic? And I'm like, well, let's find out. So the longest I take to do anything is to like Google image a picture of Sonic.
Yeah.
And then I draw it, and they just and then I'm like, okay, well, you can't color it until we say these 20 words,
right?
Or until we finish this worksheet.
That's the kicker.
And then they get to take it home with them, and they just think it's the greatest thing.
That is the greatest thing.
If you can draw, just try to practice. It's really the best tool I have.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's great. And my Instagram is Maria_KOTSONISSLP, and of course our SLP Wine and Cheese podcast.
Instagram.
Yeah.
So it's just SLP's Wine and Cheese Pod, and then we have a underscore between each word.
And we have like some fun videos of what we're doing.
Yeah, stay tuned because we're doing transcripts, and we're gonna have more videos to come in the future. We're brainstorming like maybe like 1, 2, 3 tricks and tips that we put in the show. Like we'll make confrontational videos about that, like isolation boost type videos.
Oh, okay.
That we'll post on our Instagram, and transcripts, and we'll have more contests and stuff like that. So, stay tuned and write us at our email. It's slpswineandcheese@gmail.com. We love hearing from you.
Yes.
And, please write to us.
Yeah, because we get along with everyone, right? I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like everyone who writes to us, it's so great and it's exciting.
Yeah,
Do
we're
you feel
super
like
friendly.
you got along with everyone in grad school?
I do feel like I did.
Yeah.
I didn't.
I don't know if everyone liked you though. I'm
I'm
sorry.
sure they didn't.
I'm like,
sure.
ooh, I'm sorry if that hurt.
No, it
But you're very
doesn't.
self-aware, so
Yeah, I'm so self-aware.
Yeah.
I'm like, you love me or you hate me.
right.
And
Well, I
that's
love
pretty
you,
much-
so
Thank you. No, I think that like I always struggled. Motorcycles.
Yes.
I really struggled a lot ever being friendly with girls.
Oh, okay.
They all hate me.
Interesting.
I think like they see me and they're like, "You're loud and you make me uncomfortable."
And you don't have slides.
Listen, I killed that. What do you want to know about IOP?
Not much. I think I heard enough. No.
I swear, I keep saying
Yeah.
it. Like that was everyone's 9/11. I
Right.
never forget when Deb had no
I
slides.
never forget.
Um,
I know, because, yeah, I definitely didn't forget that. But, I don't know, I feel like I got along pretty well with everyone in the program. I felt like we pretty much just talked about speech. So we all had that, like, in common.
Right.
So I feel like anyone who's listening to this and you're in a grad program and you're in whatever you want to call it, a cohort or just like your study group, just remember you're all in this together. Like you all have at least one common ground, which is speech. So just when all else fails, talk about speech and school, and I'm sure you'll learn from each other, even if you don't like the person.
And I think for the most part, like when people don't get along, it's because there's a sense of like competitiveness there.
Yeah, interesting.
And like, who are you competing with? These are your colleagues.
Right.
Like, I'm sure there were people who like weren't the biggest fan of me, but like I'm not even aware of that because you know what? I don't care.
Right.
I don't even. I'm like trying to think. I'm like, who didn't like me? But I'm sure. I'm like 100%.
I personally don't know anyone. Not that, even if I did, I wouldn't even say it on air right now.
But so like I'm just saying that it's not even something I would pick up on because I probably would just distance myself from that person and forget they exist.
Right, exactly. Except for when you need notes or slides.
No, I have.
You're like, hey,
that like me
no,
for that. Yeah, and then I go to them for that. No one's ever failed me there.
Right.
But I always knew who I could trust, and I always tried to help people out as much as I could in any capacity.
Always comic relief. I felt like you were always funny, at least.
Yeah, and I have connections. I'm like, you want to go to a comedy show?
Right.
But yeah, so like maybe drop the idea of such a competitive nature because like you're in this together and you're all like gearing towards the same common goal of trying to help people to, you know, improve their speech language communication, feeding and swallowing abilities.
Cognition too.
And cognition. So I think that the best way to get along with everybody is to just lift everybody up.
Oh, I like
you,
that.
You know?
That's a good tip.
There's this
I'm trying to think my tip, because I feel like I get along with everyone. Not like I don't want to appease other people. I just feel like you know, like what you do as an SLP, you assess and you see how they communicate, you see how their personality is, and you're like, okay, this person is pretty serious. So this is a person you don't joke around with. This person's pretty sarcastic, so I'm going to be sarcastic too, and they're going to like kind of agree with, you know, get that humor that I have. So try to find like what works with them and what doesn't. Like your clients, you know? Like, all right, this person does not get these jokes, so just don't joke around with them because they'll take it the wrong way. Or this person's like just joking around all the time, so like joke around a little. Maybe you're too serious for them.
Right.
You know? So like try to see how like,
and if you're finding yourself like constantly having issues with other people, then maybe you should just like reflect for a little bit on like how can you change your demeanor and your position in order to like cater to their best interests. How can you like reach a common goal, and also like how can you just try to win them over a little bit. Like for instance, I try not to ask any accusatory questions. Right, yes. So I never say, well, why were you late? I would say, how can I help you get here on time?
Oh, wow, you're nice. I'm just like, oh, what happened?
No, that's a cute, like, that would put somebody who's already defensive even further away from me.
Oh, really?
I want to win you over. I'm like, just tell me the truth. What's up?
Oh,
need to
okay.
know.
That's nice.
Because I make them comfortable so that they don't feel, because most people lie because out of fear.
Well, is this like for a friend, or is this a client, or is this
anybody?
like...
If anybody
okay.
has a problem,
Right.
they're likely doing something wrong.
Interesting.
And I'm not going to help them if I take the approach that they are wrong.
Right.
I can instead be like, it is so hard to drive in Brooklyn with all of this traffic.
Yes.
And even getting out the door can be just anxiety ridden, because you're like, once I leave, I'm not coming back for a long time.
Right.
And it's going to take a lot of energy to do everything I have to do once I get out that door.
That's very true.
So I understand what it's like to really struggle to get moving. So what can I do to help you?
Oh, okay. That's nice.
Get past that and get here on time. But am I doing it to be nice, or am I doing it because I need you where I need you when I need you?
Right. Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking also of like girls, let's say if you're in grad school or something, like if they're like late to study group or something, you know, like I guess you could just be like, oh, what happened, you know? And don't be like, oh, you're late, you know? Like, now all our notes are messed up or something.
Did you have study groups? You didn't.
I did, but it was, I'm sorry. But I did them a lot on Staten Island.
Oh, I always studied with Jamie, I feel like, a lot. Shout out to Jamie. She said she's been listening.
Oh, good. Woohoo.
Yeah, I feel like I always met in that new building on campus.
We
were like, we're paying for this new building. We better take advantage.
Yes.
But, so I think the best way just to get along with everybody is to not really compete, and just try to keep an open space where people feel comfortable with being themselves and being honest, and they feel welcomed.
And also to like understand that like not everyone's perfect, including yourself, and like they're gonna maybe have bad days, and like maybe they're pissed off about something, and like not to take everything so personal to heart. Like, oh, they just blew up on me. I was like, yeah, but you don't know what's going on in their life, you know? You think you know, but you really don't know. So don't take everything like, oh, they don't like me. Like, no, they might just be really pissed off about X, Y, and Z.
Yeah,
so
don't assume everything is about you.
Exactly.
Because maybe they are upset about something else. And I always my uncle always says my heart is broken, but my conscience is clear. So, like, yeah, it might bother me a little bit if you don't like me, but, like, my conscience is clear because, like, I would never do anything to hurt you, and I'm just being authentic to who I am. So if you don't like who I am, that's fine. But, like, my conscience is clear. It doesn't affect me because I'm not trying to hurt you.
Exactly. I gotcha.
Yeah, that's how
I agree with that. It's like I would like you to like me, but I don't need you to like me.
Oh, absolutely.
So
wait,
I didn't get to go into one of my activities. Oh, man.
We only kind of did how we were going to establish interactions.
Yes.
And we said sensory. So now an activity is great. Like, what kind of activity would you use with a child who is pretty, I guess, how old are they, and what's their level of, oh my goodness, this is making me burp a lot.
This wine is interesting.
Yeah. What's their level of communication?
I guess like maybe a few words, like definitely under like 50, which by like 1 year old or about 1.5, they should have like 50 words or something like that.
At 1 they have 50?
Less than 50. Less than 50. No, well, that's understanding 50.
Right, understanding. Yes. So verbalizing maybe like 5.
Right, yeah, like a handful of words.
Yeah. Like mom, dad, boy.
Right.
Milk.
Thomas. How to bring Thomas in. Well, bubbles, I said, right, like put the cap on. I wait for them to communicate with. I'll take anything in the beginning stages, like even like a verbalization, like a grunting or a reaching, like I'll take it because that's still communication. And I also like to have like the wand in front of my mouth and like wait to blow the bubbles and see if I get like a sound. And once I get that sound, even like again like just any sound, then I'll blow the bubbles, and ooh, there's the reinforcement right there.
Right.
So I like that. And I like to use the shape sorter because I like to use the phrase like put on or in to get them to do that sound. So like when you put it on, and I just do like and I just try to get some verbalization out of them. And I could even put like one hand on their chest or on my chest and like shake a little bit, or put their hand like near their throat just to get that going.
Yeah.
So
I do similar.
Yeah.
I like to pair consonants and vowels. So even if I'm not getting them to repeat after me, I'll still do this because I feel like they're retaining it and they're following the sequence of events, and maybe that will lead us into eventual verbalization. But I have these placemats that I made that have Disney characters. So it'll be like G, and then there's Goofy and Gus Gus on it.
Cool.
So I have a G, and then there's like all dots inside the G. And then so we'll be like, every letter makes a sound. G says ga, 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 ga. And then all across the side it says ga, 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 gay, 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 gee, gee, gee.
Oh,
go,
yeah.
Go, go, goo, 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 ga, gay, gee, go, goo. And because it's so systematic and formulaic, I usually always get their attention if they don't participate. But often these kids do like to participate in this type of a task because it's so structured and linear, kind of like a train track.
Interesting.
And because the brain processes music in the absence of attention. So whenever you like provide a melody or a pattern, the brain's processing it. So I feel like I'm engaging them even if I'm struggling to engage them. Right. Yeah. And then I just have like Goofy and Gus Gus. I have more complicated pages, like the coloring pages in my coloring books that I make, but those are not what I use for this population. It's just the letter, the vowels, and like one or two pictures that start with that sound. But that's the integration of sounds, letters, meaning. So it's G
that's
says
good.
Ga, like Gus Gus in the same thing. Yeah. Because we're making that
So you're exposing them pretty early to letters.
Right.
Which is good.
Neurons that
wire together. Fire together. Wire together. Oops, I messed it up.
I expose them early, and I know there's so many professors that say, don't associate the sound with the letter. And I don't know why they do that. I don't know why. I'm sure there's research, and I don't think that it's practical. And if you have that research, send it to me. And I'm pretty confident I'm going to tell you, in my experience, it's wrong, and I'll give me any kid, really, because I think it's confusing. You're like, here's a word, here's something, and then here's something in another environment, and then here's something in another environment. By the time you're in the fourth environment, the kid's like, what is this? I'm like, G, ga, Gus Gus.
Right. They're all together.
All together.
I just keep them all on one page, literally. Yeah. And then, I get it. I see. All right. No, I mean, that's good. And then I'll even throw
a homophone in there once they're a little bit more linguistically inclined.
Yeah. I mean,
so like B says "ba" like bat, and that's something then baseball, and that's a mammal that flies.
Whoa.
And all at once. And then next.
Right. That's a lot of information there.
And one example, though, is good. And you repeat it. It's not like I'm like all of the homophones. Right. It's just one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. And a lot of times our students, they might, like our children or clients, whatever you want to call them, if, like we were saying about eye contact, how they're not looking at you, but they are still hearing and, you know, absorbing what you're saying. Because
and retaining some information.
A lot of the newer research I was reading about autism is saying that even if they're not looking at you, like they are still processing. So even if the child is still not like, maybe he's, like you were saying, not saying "ga ga ga," he's still hearing it. Right, and they're seeing the pictures. So that's good.
But then I do, so going to, are we still talking about activities, or are we going to goals
Yeah, I'm going to see, and also when I do the shape sorter, I like to hold the shape to, like, 2 at a time, present 2, and I give them a choice, obviously, because then I can get them to obviously point or reach.
Pour some wine, so you have a lot to say, right?
So point, or actually also if when you're working with the early intervention ages, when they reach for something, you want to use your fingers to shape their hand to a point with their pointer finger. So you want, as they're like reaching with their whole hand, you take your fingers and you formulate a point, and then you give them what they want. And I like the shape sorter because obviously it's shaped, so it has like that cognitive aspect and like following directions and manipulating. And I mostly like it also because of that to work on that vocalization.
I really like to use pictures for receptive identification.
Me too.
So, like, even if they can't point, and I'm just like, which one can fly? And I have a cat and a chicken or something, or like a cat and a bird.
Yeah.
So if they deviate their head towards the one that can fly, I can mark that down. Then we can progress from there to, like, staring at it longer than a second. And then we can progress to pointing, and then we can progress to, like, taking it. Like, take the one that can fly.
So you're talking about, like, function of objects, I see.
If I said that. So if I was doing label, I would probably start wherever I could get the response.
Right.
Wherever nothing is going to take the place of clinical judgment.
Right.
So there is no, like, rule of thumb or, like, this is the end
be
all.
Yeah.
It's just, whatever's going to work. And you can kind of, like, judge what the kid is going to be able to
that's
do.
why I'm thinking, like, if I come to a kid's house, or they coming to me and they're pretty much, like, nonverbal, or, like I said, a handful of words, I'm starting with, like, functional sounds and functional words to get them to communicate. So, like, they make a sound and then they get something, whether it's bubbles, it's a shape sorter, it's a block to put on, whatever they're interested in. A puzzle piece. I like puzzle pieces too. So I'm just trying to get them to.
Though I really did struggle initially to elicit any sort of sound from them. So that's when I started to seek a lot of comfort in trying the Z vibe and the receptive, and then just trying to do, like, let me hear A, E, O, ooh, anything. And, like, approximations.
When they're, like, young like that, it's hard for them to vocalize on command. That's why I try to pair it with the activity. So the bubbles can be, like, pop, 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 or blow, or That's why I like on, because anything can go on, and you have the vocalization.
That's great. That's
what I like. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, thanks. So that's where I'm focusing on in my activities. It seems like you're on, like, the children that are a little higher functioning, or I don't want to say that, but maybe they're have more language.
When I can tell there's a lot of receptive there, and I don't want to ignore that receptive component, because, like, maybe in addition to their nonverbal stuff, they have apraxia, so it's really hard for them to make that verbalization. So I don't want to spend so much time on just trying to get them to produce a sound.
Right. No, that's true.
I can engage them in, like, problem solving and puzzles and, like, play or something. Something. But then that could also lead to, like you said, like, an environment where they're more likely to produce that sound.
Right.
One time I had this kid doing so much stuff. For the longest time, he wasn't saying anything, and then out of nowhere, he's like, "No more."
Wow.
Like,
he was like, "No more Gus."
He was like, "Leave me alone."
Gus. No, I'm just kidding.
He just said no more. I was like, ugh.
See, and then you're like, yes, we've been working on that.
I was like, yeah, good. Advocate for yourself to get me out of here.
So obviously I work on these things, and then if I'm working on them, obviously means I have written goals for them, right? Goals.
Exactly.
Hashtag goals.
And this is, like, I guess we're talking about when we get to the point. So, like, we went in there, we met the kid, we started interacting with them. Now it's time to write our progress report. We have to write new goals because this kid's going to go on to a new year if they have an annual review, or if they're going to go on to see somebody else because they're getting big now and they're going to CPSC or preschool or school age or whatever.
They're aging out or something.
Yes.
So I would give, it depends. It really, again, depends, but I'll just give a sample goal for PECs because we heard a lot of feedback for PECs. So this would be for if they're still on stage 1. So again, stage 1 is just how to communicate, how to just exchange. So it would be the student's name. We'll exchange a minimum of 2 symbols to request across 3 consecutive sessions with 80% accuracy, or 4 out of 5 trials. And then if they've, like, met that one already, you could do the distance and you could measure it in feet. So, like, name will exchange a minimum of, let's say, 2 symbols to request from 30 to 50 feet or something like that. And then if you have short-term goals, you break it down by the distance.
Okay.
So you could do that. And then you could do I like to do either you could do both, actually. receptive goal, which would be like pictures of family members. So like, show me mom, show me dad. And I remember one of our professors in grad school, we said to do a field of 3. Because a field of 2 is a 50-50 chance.
Yeah.
So when I see people do, they're like, we presented in 2. I'm like, but that means it's a 50-50 chance. So present it in 3. Even if it's like a nonsense item, like even if it is like a toy train and then mom and then dad, and then you're like, show me mom. And they keep reaching for the train, you know, obviously they're not understanding.
Right, and they just want to play with that train.
Yes, so they have, and they're not understanding.
The only time I think you should have only 2 is if your child is handicapped and you have to hold something up so that they could see it and you only have 2 hands. Don't try to balance 3 things.
Right, that is intense.
Keep it simple, just 2 hands. But most part, I do completely agree with you with the field of 3.
Yeah.
And a goal that I like to do, even though Maria brought up an excellent point, like don't fixate so much on eye contact. It's not about eye contact,
right?
Because they're gonna be they're gonna be receptive of everything you're saying and doing, even if they're not looking at you constantly. Mm-hmm. But I do think it is important for being able to, as a parent or a caregiver, to get the child's attention.
Yeah, joint attention.
For emergency purposes.
Right.
I want to be able to say, like, Frankie. Right. And then he looks at me.
Right. So, or he stops what he's doing.
Or stops, freezes and looks at... Mostly I want them to look at me.
Yeah.
Because that's how I know. So I'll make a goal, like, name will make eye contact in 3 out of 5 trials with no more than 3 repetitions and 1 or 2 tactile
so
prompts.
It's 60% accuracy, that 3 out of 5. The trip is 20, 40, 60.
I usually say 80% accuracy for 3 out of 5 trials. So I want it to happen with 80% accuracy at least 3 times out of the 5 times I've tried it.
Say that.
So if I did it for 5 sessions.
Oh, per session.
If that's how I'm measuring
it
depends. The point is that how do you say 80% accuracy? Because that's not consistent. It's not every time. It's not always 80% accuracy.
Well, then they haven't mastered it yet.
Right. So I'm going to say what I want them to do.
Oh, so this is like a short term?
They'll do it. So I want them to do it with 80% accuracy at least 3 times out of the 5 times I made them do it.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
That's what I mean. So
I word it with across 3 consecutive sessions. So like the next 3 sessions,
okay, that's good.
They should have 80% because that's the criteria for mastery.
Okay. Yeah.
But,
so yeah, I just write because I want it to happen 3 times out of the 5 times that I asked them to do it.
That's good.
So because it could be like within the same session or it could be over 3 consecutive sessions. Oh. It doesn't matter to me.
Right.
Just because it's how I'm keeping track.
Yeah.
And maybe I hope that's clear to the next person that gets it. But for instance, I would be like, Frankie, and they looked at me, I put a check. Frankie, they looked at me, I put a check. Frankie, they didn't look at me, I put an X.
Right.
And then, like, I'll do that however
5
many
times, let's
like
say.
5 times in that block. Mm-hmm. And then, so if in that 5 times they only did it 3 out of 5 times, then that's the 60% accuracy. But then what if it's an hour-long session, I did it later again? Right. You know, and I kept track. Mm-hmm. So I just want it to be consistently... Oh, okay. Like over time. I see now. And it's like more that I can measure. So I always I don't like to be ambiguous with the numbers. Right. I don't want to guess about what I'm doing. Right. I'm like, he looked at me, he didn't look at me.
Nobody wants to guess.
No, I don't want to guess.
Okay, so that's good.
And then I like following 1 to 2 step directions.
Who doesn't? So, I like to follow I like them to follow 1-step directions.
And I talked about that in like our first episode where I had the colored blocks and I sorted them into clear mason jars and I used the Verbal Me app. You can listen to our intro episode if you want me to go in more detail about that.
My favorite, I like that one step directions too. And my favorite thing is having them help clean up because I need help, man.
That's right. I don't want to do it all by myself. And it's task completion.
Right, and it's also an indicator that this is over.
Right. Transition.
And it's like, where does this go? Like if it was in their bag or if it goes back on their shelves. So it has like that memory component. Like, oh, where do we find this? Where does this go? And they have to like put it away with you. And
it's starting to work on the phrase. So now I'm going to work with a kid that I'm building up. I'm going to be like, put away pen, put away block,
yeah, you obviously embed it into your session, right? Like, and you could say, I like to say bye, especially like the characters. bye, and you have that social aspect too.
Yeah.
You wave to them. So anyway, what about our tips and tricks now?
Our
It's
tips
about
and
that
tricks.
time.
So, you go. You want to go first? Or you want me to
I'll go first.
Okay.
Sure, why not? So my trick and tip is that you want to give the child a choice of 2 items, one that they would like and one that they don't. So when you give them the thing they don't like, you can hopefully they can say no, or you could prompt them to say no, or even a shaking their head, and then you immediately give them what they want. So you're reinforcing them saying no by still giving them what they want. Because I see a lot of new SLPs mess this up.
Okay.
Like they'll make the kid say, no, you have to say yes. And then they give the kid what they want. But if you only reinforce yes, they're only going to walk around keep saying yes or shaking their head.
Right, yeah.
So they have to learn that no also means I get something.
Right,
so
yeah.
So they can learn to differentiate eventually.
Right, because
yes
at some
no.
point, everyone wants to be like, oh, they said it, so they should get it. But, like, no, they can't eat dirt. Even if they said I want to eat dirt, and it's, like, the first sentence they ever heard.
That's important, too, yeah.
So, like, they need to understand that, like, even though they say something, that does not mean that they are entitled to it.
Right.
Because once I get to that verbal part with a lot of kids in this population, all of a sudden they're like, oh, but I'm very used to just doing whatever I want. Right. Because, like, people feel like that I don't know better.
Because I requested for it. Yeah. Well, this is my favorite way to teach yes and no, though. To teach, yes and no. And then you start with, do you want this? Mm-hmm. Do you want this? And they don't want this toy, you give them the toy they want after they said no. Because, like, oh, you said no. You still get what you want.
Mm-hmm.
So,
my tip is, like, just because of the eye contact thing, I like to put a sticker on my nose, and I just have them stare at my nose once I get their attention. Because it's easier to stare at a nose than it is at eyes.
That is true. I like that tip that you give. I've been using that more often, too.
Yeah, look at my nose.
Yeah, that's
so
a good
I'll put
one.
a sticker on my nose, so I'll be like, look at my sticker, look at my sticker.
Oh, I got to try that with another kid I have. He loves stickers.
Easy. You can get, like, one of those red circle stickers, so you just look like a clown.
Sure.
Or just any sticker.
Okay. Yeah, any sticker will do. Just use what you have. Don't go out and buy red clown stickers. If you have a ton of stickers, use those.
If you have something sticky, then if you have tape and construction paper, put that on your nose.
There you go.
Don't buy anything.
Right. Stop buying stuff.
Yeah, stop it.
And to end our quote is...
What is our quote?
It's not a disability. It's a different ability.
Lovely.
With children, working with children with autism. And I think that's such a good quote to tell parents, especially when they hear the news that their child has autism and your whole world is uprooted. So just remind them, it's not a disability, it's a different ability.
Mm-hmm. I also like to tell them, like, your kid is your kid is your kid is your kid.
Right.
No matter what, you're going to have the same exact kid when you walk out of this door, regardless of what these people say to you.
Oh, wow. That's empowering, too.
Yeah.
Good.
So I'm like, that's your kid, and, like, you have them.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's still the same kid.
Yeah.
You know, even with the label or not.
Exactly.
But anyway, have a good night, everyone.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Ciao.